Hi everyone. So I hope that ये वाली class बंद ना हो, right? Even more than you, we wanted this class to go live, and yeah. So properly audible. कैसा लग रहा है दिन भर में 5 बार good afternoon करके? Anyway, so yes, there is some error which is beyond explanation. ठीक है. So let us start with our questions. हम अपने क्वेश्चन से स्टार्ट करते हैं एंड लिसन टू मी वेरी वेरी केयरफुली. इफ दिस क्लास डजंट गो एज पर द प्लान बिकॉज ऑफ सम बफर कुछ भी इशू होता है बफरिंग से रिलेटेड, then this class will be conducted in paid course. I will not be having any option then. ठीक है, तो that is the explanation या फिर जो भी समझेंगे declaration etc etc. Anyway, so this is question number 21 and we are starting from this. We have to cover the next 30 questions. These are important. We are going to cover this for the month of October till December, right? And let us do that. So question number 21, you see, there was a global fintech festival, right? And this question asks about the UPI initiatives. That means there are 4 options provided and you have been asked that which one of the following is not one of the 4 UPI initiatives that has been launched by the RBI. Internet of Things, Banking Connect, UPI Reserve Pay, offline UPI payments, or AI based UPI help that has been powered by the NPCI. It's a static question. ठीक है, over here the facts are going to remain like that. ये ऐसे के ऐसे ही रहेंगे and it becomes important because that has been launched by the RBI very very recently. So what are your answers for this? वो 4 बार तो कर चुके हैं, कितनी बार आंसर बताएंगे सेम चीज का? So yes, option number D is the correct one. It is not one of the latest initiatives that has been launched by the RBI at the Global Fintech Festival. हाँ, नहीं, D है ऑप्शन. ऑफलाइन यूपीआई पेमेंट्स ऐसा अभी आरबीआई ने ग्लोबल फिनटेक फेस्टिवल में लॉन्च नहीं किया है. ग्लोबल फिनटेक फेस्टिवल में आरबीआई टॉक्ड अबाउट दीज 4 इनिशिएटिव्स. दैट वाज इंटरनेट ऑफ थिंग बेस्ड यूपीआई पेमेंट्स, बैंकिंग कनेक्ट, इट्स अ टेक बेस्ड प्लेटफॉर्म. ठीक है, ये एक टेक्नोलॉजी है दैट हेल्प्स the icons to come on your apps, all your what you can say your internet based banking services. ठीक है, internet banking, that's what we say. UPI Reserve Pay to securely block and manage the credit limits for specific uses. ठीक है, आप कोटा डिफाइन कर सकते हैं यहाँ पे. And AI based UPI help is also there which has been powered by the NPCI small language model to enhance the customer assistance, right? So in order to increase the customer satisfaction level, this AI based UPI help has been brought in. So these are the 4 initiatives that you need to remember. आपको याद रखना है. Now talking about question number 22. SEBI has recently eased norms for the block deal window. Which of the following statements about the new rules is correct? ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे हम block deal के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. Now few things. पिछली क्लास में there was a comment कि the voice quality, obviously there was some sound issue in that particular class, but from that particular class I am trying that I should keep my voice thoda bahut low. Okay, so question number 22, let's talk about this. What do we mean by block deal? Block deal का मतलब होता है when you execute the transaction in large value. Okay, and what does that mean? जब आप large value में transactions करते हैं, does this have the implication on the market price or stock market in general? बिल्कुल होगा. Suppose, let us assume, let us talk about this in terms of vegetables. ठीक है, अब अगर मान लीजिए कोई एक localized सब्जी मंडी है, and in that particular sabzi mandi, if I will dump 100 kgs worth of onions suddenly, Don't you think that the prices of onions are going to crash? ठीक है, so market price पर impact आता है when the block deals are executed. So that's why SEBI is saying that first of all, what are block deals? क्या होंगी आपकी block deals? 25 crore is the limit that they have imposed in terms of value. तो अगर if the transaction is beyond this, then we will consider this as a block deal. So minimum order size क्या बोला है आपको? Block deal का 25 crore. Obviously, huge quantity होगी, then only we can call it as a block deal. After that, SEBI has said that we are defining two special time windows for you. हम आपके लिए दो special time windows define कर रहे हैं and you are going to execute the deals in that particular timeline itself. ठीक है, आपको एक morning का session दे दिया, एक afternoon का session दे दिया. Now you please conduct your block deals transactions in that. Now what is the what you can say ultimate objective of this? To what you can say segregate your block deals trades and the other trades separately so that it does not have too much impact on your transactions. ये बात आ गई समझ में? So question option number D is the correct option over here. SEBI has relaxed the block deal window norms to improve the trade execution. There is a minimum order size of 25 crores that we call as block deal. ठीक है, morning session 8:45 to 9 AM and afternoon session we have from 2:05 to 2:20 PM. Okay, reference price can vary up to 3% above or below the previous day's closing price. ठीक है, आप जिस भी price पर कर रहे हैं, what is the plus minus that we are allowing to you? 3% above or below the previous day's closing price. ठीक है, पिछले दिन का प्राइस आपका क्या रहा था, आप उसके 3% अप जा सकते हैं, 3% बिलो जा सकते हैं. That is going to be your reference price. Now can I have the answers for question number 23? Can I have the answers for question number 23, please, very quickly? Yes. Okay. So which of the following is not covered under the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme 2021? State cooperatives, regional rural banks, HFCs, non-scheduled urban cooperative banks with a deposit of 50 crores and credit information companies. So I know you watch the class on daily basis, so obviously the answer is expected from you, but let us talk about this particular question. Integrated Ombudsman Scheme, what we want is that if a customer is there with you, then the experience remains good, right? And if there is any kind of problem customer is having, you are going to be responsible for that. Just a second. Yes. So you are going to be responsible for that. So anyway, these entities, they are slowly and steadily being brought in under the ombudsman scheme. ठीक है, इसको ombudsman के अंदर आपका लाया जा रहा है. State cooperatives as well as your district cooperatives are the newest addition in that, and HFCs, they are not yet included. I'm not saying कि आगे चल के include नहीं होगा, but as of now, ठीक है. Okay, so sorry. So what we wanted was that this class should happen on YouTube. We were trying our best कि YouTube पे हो जाए, and this was the last attempt of honestly. अगर इसके बाद नहीं होता तो फिर वो विजय बैच में ही होता. Anyway, so यहाँ पर हो गया, so it's good. Anyway, so HFCs is something that is not included. They are having their own internal complaint resolution system that is called as grids. ठीक है, वो उनका अपना एक system है, and that is why it is not included over here right now. Now, what do we have to remember under this particular question? That what are the entities that are covered under the RBI Integrated Ombudsman Scheme? ठीक है, कौन सी entities हैं? Let us see that. So, Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman covers all commercial banks. Check. ठीक है, regional rural, check. State cooperatives and central cooperatives, they are included very recently. That is why we are reading all this. Scheduled and non-scheduled urban cooperative banks with a deposit size of 50 crore and above. ठीक है, क्या बात कर रहे हैं हम? Scheduled हो चाहे non-scheduled हो, urban cooperative banks, if you have a deposit size of 50 crore and above, that means you have got customers' money with you. you are going to be included under this. आप इसके अंदर included रहेंगे. Non-banking financial companies with an asset size of 100 crore and above, excluding the HFCs. NBFCs भी देखो, if you have got an asset size of 100 crores and above, you are going to be remain included. And credit information companies, ये भी आपकी included हैं. Now, question number 24. Can I have answers? Which of the following statement correctly describes SEBI's recent restriction on mutual funds investments in pre-IPO shares? First option says that they can participate in both pre-IPO placements and anchor allotments. Mutual funds are allowed to invest in unlisted shares only as anchor investors. Mutual funds can freely invest in pre-IPO placements before IPO opens, and mutual funds cannot invest. Mutual funds can invest, but only if the IPO is oversubscribed. These are the options that you have with you. Yes, the correct answer is option number B. Let us discuss that why is it so. Mutual funds के बारे में ये कहा जाता है that they take the investors' money and then they invest in companies' security. ठीक है, mutual funds investors से पैसा लेते हैं and then they invest in the securities. That's what they do. Okay, but ultimately what SEBI wants is that you should not be taking too much of what you can say risk. ठीक है, इतना ज़्यादा आपको risk नहीं लेना है. That is why SEBI is saying कि anchor allotments में yes you can take the participation. When does the anchor allotments open? One day before IPO. IPO से एक दिन पहले आपका anchor allotment open होता है, and as mutual funds you can participate in that. Do you know that what is the quota that has been allowed to the mutual funds in IPO? Anchor allotment, sorry. Mutual funds को कितना quota allot किया गया है anchor allotments में? Can you answer for that? I need answers. What is the quota that has been allocated? This is also a part of SEBI's latest directions, and this would be there in form of your circular MCQs. No. Anyway, if you don't know about it, just wait, right? That will be covered in our questions as we will move forward. यहाँ पे भी covered है, ठीक है? No guesses please. That is not 10 भी सही नहीं है, 15 भी सही नहीं है. We will talk about it in our upcoming questions. Anyway, so yes, pre-IPO placements में no, please don't do that as mutual funds. Pre-IPO placements क्या होते हैं? That before we are bringing our initial public offer, we will remain open for investment, let's say for 7 months, 8 months, 6 months, 5 months, for that period, right? You can invest at any particular point of time, but SEBI says that as mutual funds, you have the investors' money and we don't want you to do that. Okay? It is risky. So that means you can become an anchor investor, but आपको pre-IPO placements में नहीं जाना है. Okay? That's what SEBI has said. The SEBI has restricted the mutual funds from participating in pre-IPO placements. Okay, mutual funds are allowed to invest only as anchor investors because this opens a day before IPO opens. Okay, pre-IPO placements which happen months ahead of the listing, they are considered too risky for the mutual fund schemes. Now next is, this is the question. RBI has proposed lower risk weights for the NBFC loans to the high quality infra projects. Now, in order to remember this particular question for a longer period of time, हमें कितना याद रखना है? अगले एक हफ्ते तक याद रखना है, and that is it. We'll be done with that. So anyway, question number 26 के बारे में आप 25th के बारे में हम बात करेंगे. Infrastructure segment, we want higher funding in this. That is clear. फंड्स का फ्लो हमें चाहिए इस सेगमेंट में, बिकॉज अदरवाइज द गवर्नमेंट इज गोइंग टू रिमेन द ओनली की इन्वेस्टर इन दिस सेगमेंट. अब अगर एनबीएफसीज का पैसा इस सेगमेंट में आपको बढ़ाना है, सो व्हाट यू हैव टू इंश्योर इज दैट द रेगुलेशंस शुड रिमेन इजी. ठीक है, regulations कैसी होनी चाहिए, easy होनी चाहिए. Now one of the regulation is called as capital adequacy. ठीक है, capital adequacy, how much capital you have to keep dependent on your risk weighted assets. ठीक है यार, मेरी आवाज तो कभी कम नहीं होती काजल. पिछली क्लास में तुम्हें पता है क्या कमेंट था कि बहुत तेज आवाज है, थोड़ा अपना आवाज कम करो, ऐसा बोला गया था. लो वॉइस तुमको लग रहा है, मुझे लग रहा है यहाँ कोई गड़बड़ नहीं है, पक्का तुम कुछ तो तुमने धीरे धीरे कर रखा होगा. एनीवे, let's come back to the question. Other people, can you please confirm that whether voice is okay or not? So yes, lower risk weights for the NBFC's loan. I want to explain this a bit and then we will move forward. So where RBI says that if there is an infra project, right, and that particular infra project, if you will see, what is the time since this has started its commercial operations? If 1 year has already elapsed, ठीक है, 1 साल already हो चुका है, and they have paid the, you can say EMIs also, EMIs वैसे यहाँ पे correct word नहीं है, but still they have paid you the amount. Up to what limit? That is also something we are going to discuss. Basically, they are saying that 1 year is something which has already passed since this project came into being, and this particular project is also repaying the amount. So we will classify this as a high quality infra project. क्या बोलेंगे? High quality infra project. और अगर आपने इस high quality infra project को लोन दिया है, so we will reduce the risk weight. हम risk weight कम कर देंगे. अब ये risk weight कम करने से क्या होता है? The capital that NBFC has to maintain will be reduced. ठीक है, वो कम हो जाएगा. So NBFCs will be more, what you can say, they'll be more wired to give the loans to such infrastructure projects, right? So that is the whole story. Now let's talk about the options. Loans to infra projects will now attract a uniform 100% risk weight. ये तो ऐसा तो कहीं बात ही नहीं किया गया है. Loans where the borrower has repaid at least 10% of the sanctioned amount will attract 50% of risk weight. Loans where the borrower has repaid less than 5% will attract 25%. High quality are defined as those completed within 6 months. ये कहाँ होता है भाई? 6 महीने के अंदर अंदर काम खत्म हो जाएगा, ऐसा तो कहीं नहीं लिखा. NBFC loan to infra projects are excluded from capital adequacy calculation. That is also completely wrong. When you have given the loan, you have to maintain the capital, and that is a given thing. ठीक है? So question number 25, the correct answer is B. So good Vaishali and Satyarth. Right? Option is B. Now let us see the explanation also. First of all, कौन से infra projects? So high quality infra projects that have completed at least 1 year since commercial operations date. किस दिन से आपने अपने operations शुरू किए थे? क्या तब से 1 साल हो गया है? हो गया है. So we will consider you as a high quality infra project, and also you have started repaying. ठीक है, आपने 10% से ज्यादा अपना sanction amount pay कर दिया है. So that means you are less risky and we will assign you 50% risk weight. Okay, and if you have repaid between 5 to 10%, then in that particular case 75% risk weight. Now how it is beneficial for the NBFC segment? For these kind of loans, they will have to maintain less capital. और जब आप कम कैपिटल आपको मेंटेन करना है, so that means you will be able to give more loans. So I hope that you will remember this logically also and factually also. ठीक है? Let's talk about question number 26. अभी तो factual question है. Let's see this. So as per the RBI's census on foreign liabilities and assets, which two countries together accounted for over 1/3 of India's FDI during 2024-25. Factual question है. I need your answers. US and Mauritius, US and Singapore, Singapore and Japan, UK and US, Germany and Singapore. We are talking about FDI. ठीक है, कौन सी 2 कंट्रीज से हमें फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट सबसे ज्यादा आया है in the year of 24-25, and which particular regulatory body has issued this data? So that is RBI. किसने किया है? RBI ने. So yes, can I have the answers? यार मतलब मुझे समझ में नहीं आता, या तो आंसर पता नहीं है या फिर देना नहीं चाहते, बिकॉज कौन टाइप करे. एनीवे, गुड सिद्धार्थ. So yes, US and Singapore, they are the 2 countries, right? Now can we see the other countries also? देख सकते हैं, but इतना कोई जरूरी नहीं है. So out of the total FDIs, the share of US was 20%. US was leading, and that is one of the reasons why we do not speak much against US. You see, आप exports के बारे में बात करो, आप FDI के बारे में बात करो, US is on top. Okay, that's why we do not speak against US much. We want to protect our interest, but we don't want to hamper our interest at the same time. Yes, good, Anjali and Vaishali. So manufacturing sector has accounted for the highest share of total FDI equity at 48%. सबसे ज़्यादा FDI का पैसा आपके कौन से सेक्टर में आया है? That is your manufacturing. ठीक है? Okay. Now moving forward to the next question. Under SEBI's recent guidelines, investment advisors providing a second opinion on a client's assets already managed by another distributor can charge an annual fee of. हाँ, correct. No one can speak. चलिए. So question number 27. Question number 27. Give me the answer for this. Investment advisors, see, I'll tell you the story and meanwhile you can give me the answers. Okay, so what used to happen, the earlier SEBI said that as an investment advisor, कई बार ऐसा होता है ना कि suppose there are 2 professionals. One says that you are taking services from the another professional. No, he is not doing justice with your funds. ठीक है, वो सही नहीं कर रहे, आपका पैसा सही से मैनेज नहीं कर रहे, मैं करूंगा. ठीक है, so please give me that particular your funds management, right? अब आप ऐसे तो क्या करोगे, आपस में लड़ाई करोगे, ठीक है, और एक दूसरे का बिजनेस हैम्पर करोगे, and ultimately it is bad for the investor, bad for the economy, and bad for you as a professional also. Okay, so SEBI earlier did not allow the investment advisors. मान लीजिए एक investor है and this investor's money is already managed by a distributor. ठीक है, एक बंदा ऑलरेडी मैनेज कर रहा है इनके पैसे को या इनके इन्वेस्टमेंट को. नाउ ही वांट्स अनदर सेकंड ओपिनियन फ्रॉम एन इन्वेस्टमेंट एडवाइजर. ठीक है, क्या चाहते हैं? सेकंड ओपिनियन. जैसे डॉक्टर्स के केस में भी हम सेकंड ओपिनियन लेते हैं ना, वैसे ही सेकंड ओपिनियन लेना चाहते हैं. तो पहले सेबी कहता था कि नहीं भाई, दिस इज नॉट अलाउड. Why it is not allowed? Because as I have told you, this is going to create what you can say unnecessary competition. But now SEBI realizes that sometimes it is very much needed. ठीक है, और आप kill कर रहे हो क्या बोलते हैं उसको, the genuine needs of investors. So that is why SEBI reformed this particular position. SEBI ने change किया इसको. यार आप लोग आंसर दे रहे हो A, that is not correct. Up to 1%, up to 1.5%, up to 2.5%, up to 3%, no fee is allowed. So there has been a change where the SEBI is saying that okay, if you want to charge, you can charge, but we are going to define a limit for you. हम आपके लिए एक limit define करेंगे and please charge within that. Let us see what the answer is. So SEBI has allowed the investment advisors that they can charge an annual fee up to 2.5% of the asset value for providing a second opinion. ठीक है, for a pre-existing distributor arrangement. आप पहले से किसी से fund management से related services ले रहे हो, but if you want a second opinion, that is very much allowed. Okay, is that fine? Now, a factual question: which company recently received in principle authorization from RBI to issue prepaid payment instruments? कौन सी कंपनी को मिला है इन प्रिंसिपल ऑथराइजेशन अभी? टेल मी, which company has received it in principal authorization? Zunio, Paytm, Flipkart, Ola, Reliance Digital Payments. कभी बहुत ही माथा अगर चेंज हुआ तो ये क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है. इट वॉज देयर इन दी अक्टूबर टू दिसंबर मंथ, सो आई हैव इंक्लूडेड इट, राइट. I will not label it as a very very important question, but then again you never know क्या आ जाए. ठीक है. So question number 28. Now these are the guesses. ठीक है, ये सारे guesses हैं. I can know from the answers, but still I'll welcome them. Great. So which company recently received the in principle authorization? That is Zunio Payments Private Limited, a wholly owned subsidiary of the First Pay, has received the authorization from the RBI to issue the prepaid payment instruments. These authorizations for purchasing goods and services, financial services, remittances, etc., etc., like your other companies have also been taken, like Flipkart, Ola Financial Services, they do not have currently such RBI authorizations, but Zunio has received it. ठीक है. Yes, Vaishali, 28th का भी it was a guess, but the correct answer is Zunio Payments Private Limited. Such kind of questions, they usually become important. Anyway, let's come back to question number 29, and over here I'll tell you about the allocations of mutual funds for the anchor investors, for being an anchor investor in IPO. You remember I was talking about this and I was asking you about this. This is the question that we need to do. So SEBI has recently amended rules regarding the anchor investors in IPO. Few things you need to remember, guys. Anchor investor. Anchor means the person who makes the first move. Okay. Anchor का मतलब क्या? सबसे पहले जो आते हैं, right? Who introduces, right? So that is why anchor investors in IPO. Remember these two keywords. Now, which of the following statements are correct? Total reservation has been reduced from 40 to 33. Mutual funds now have 33% allocation in anchor portion, with insurers and pension funds sharing the remaining 7%. The number of anchor investors allowed per 250 crore IPO portion has been reduced from 15 to 10. Category 1 and 2 anchor investors, they remain separate for discretionary allotment. The new rules will come into force from January 1st, 2026. Which of the following statement is correct? कोई बात नहीं, आज आई एम होपिंग दैट द क्लास विल नॉट क्रैश आउट. ठीक है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होगा. अभी तक तो हुई भी नहीं है. भगवान की दया से चलती रहे तो हमारी क्लास कंप्लीट हो जाएगी, right? Otherwise I have to conduct the classes in bits and pieces, and believe me, that is very very exhausting. Anyway, बताइए. So let me give you the full visibility. So yes, question number 29. Can I have the answers? It is a good question, I feel so. Okay. Okay, great guys. So I'll tell you the answers, but before that, क्योंकि अगर मैंने आंसर बता दिया तो तुम बाकी की बातें सुनोगे नहीं, इसलिए पहले बाकी की बातें सुन लेते हैं. ठीक है. ओके, सो हियर मी आउट. एंकर इन्वेस्टर का मतलब क्या होता है? द पर्सन हु इन्वेस्ट्स इन योर IPO one day before the IPO opens, right? Now, as you understand the priority sector guidelines, ये priority sector guideline नहीं है, but I am just giving you a comparison. So over here in the priority sector guidelines, what happens is that if you want to provide the numbers, or you want to provide the space for the sectors of the economy which are very very useful for you, you provide them a quota. ठीक है. अब एंकर इन्वेस्टर में क्या होता है? देयर आर सो मेनी QIBs. बाकी सारे लोग आएंगे, ज्यादा पैसा डालेंगे और उनको अलॉटमेंट मिल जाएगा. बेचारे म्यूचुअल फंड वाले कहाँ जाएंगे? ठीक है, म्यूचुअल फंड्स कहाँ जाएंगे? whereas mutual funds are very very important for our economy, given that the small investors invest in it. ठीक है. So SEBI has allocated a quota for them. After that, there were two kinds of categories in the anchor investors. यहाँ पे और भी बहुत सारे changes हैं जिनके numbering यहाँ पे गलत दिए हुए हैं. That is why hear me out very very carefully. Earlier there was a quota that 10 crores तक कितने anchor investors होंगे, 250 crores तक कितने anchor investors होंगे. SEBI has now merged those categories. SEBI ने merge कर दिया है कि मान लीजिए आपका 250 करोड़ का IPO issue है. कितना? 250 करोड़ का IPO issue है. So how many anchor investors can be there? 15. ठीक है, कितने anchor investors हो सकते हैं आपके? 15. पहले कितने थे? 10, right? Earlier it used to be 10. Now it is 15. Okay. After that, so guess यहाँ पे किसका सही रहा? आकांक्षा, correct answer, right? Vaishali is still guessing. So yes, question number 29 का हमारा correct answer है B. Mutual funds now have a 33% allocation in the anchor portion with the insurers and pension funds sharing the remaining 7%. ठीक है, म्यूचुअल फंड्स का कितना शेयर है 33%, बाकी का 7% किसको दे रहे हैं, पेंशन फंड्स एंड इंश्योरेंस फंड को. और अगर पेंशन फंड और इंश्योरेंस फंड ने वो 7% नहीं लिया, ठीक है, तो वो भी किसको चला जाएगा, म्यूचुअल फंड्स को, वो भी किसको चला जाएगा, म्यूचुअल फंड्स को. तो दिस इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 29 फॉर यू. देयर आर सर्टेन चेंजेस, लेट्स हैव अ लुक ऑन टू दिस. नाउ प्लीज सारा का सारा फोकस यहाँ पे, so that we understand these questions and we will try to remember this for a longer period of time. SEBI has increased the total reservation. Earlier this was 33%, now it is 40%. Out of that, 33% is the reserve for the mutual funds, 7% is the reserve for the insurers and pension funds. If the 7% given to them remains undersubscribed, then it will be given to mutual funds. कि mutual funds वालों की तो क्या हो गई, चांदी हो गई. पहले there were two categories, right? But now SEBI has merged category 1 and category 2 into a single category for allocations up to 250 crore. हर 250 crore के anchor portion में how many investors can be there? 15, right? कि अगर आपका 250 करोड़ का साइज है तो उसमें कितने एंकर इन्वेस्टर्स हो सकते हैं, 15. अब ऐसा नहीं हो सकता ना that you are bringing an IPO and before IPO opens you are allotting everything to the anchor investors. ये कहाँ का न्याय है, right? We cannot do this. Okay, so that is why they have defined a maximum limit कि अगर आपका 250 करोड़ का साइज है, so per 250 crore there can be 15, maximum 15 anchor investors. I'm hoping that this question is clear to everyone and these norms comes into effect from November 30th. ठीक है, चलो, we will see the next question. Question number 30. So with reference to RBI's draft commercial bank capital market exposure directions, which of the following statement is correct? See guys, number one thing that you need to focus is this is a draft guideline. Sometimes while preparing these questions, I have been told that these kind of questions do also appear. Okay, draft related questions. ठीक है, आपके अगर आप previous patterns भी देखेंगे, so sometimes they do ask. So that is why I am clarifying this beforehand. It's a draft. Okay, so what RBI is saying over here, banks are permitted to finance 100% of the acquisition value subject to board approval. Exposure to merger and acquisition financing is capped at 15% of banks' tier 1 capital. Banks may finance corporate acquisitions up to 70% of the acquisition value subject to cap linked to tier 1 capital. The guidelines are mandatory with effect from April 1st, 2025. The draft guidelines prohibit banks from funding mergers and acquisition. Now I am asking which of the following is correct. Question number 30th. Okay. Question number 30th. Can I have the answers? देखो क्या होता है ना, over here what they are saying that as a bank, when you are funding the acquisitions, acquisition means, for example, Facebook acquired Instagram, that is an acquisition. ठीक है, when you are funding the acquisition, it is risky propositions because whenever the acquisitions happen, they go on what you can say, उनको ज़्यादा as the price whatever they have demanded that is paid during the acquisition. So this is a bit higher than their real valuations. थोड़ा सा valuation से ज़्यादा ही होता है acquisition. That is why limits should be imposed. क्या? Limits should be imposed that how much funding as a bank you can do for the acquisitions. So that is why the correct answer is C. Good Satyarth, right? So over here, what RBI is suggesting that as a bank, how much funding you can do up to 70% of the acquisition value. कि अगर $100 million में आप acquire कर रहे हैं, so up to $70 million is something that you can pay as a bank. Even out of that, आपको ये भी कहा गया है that we will also see what your tier 1 capital is. हम एज अ बैंक आपका देखेंगे कि आपका टियर 1 कैपिटल क्या है, और अकॉर्डिंगली आई गेस 10% इज द लिमिट ऑफ योर टियर 1 कैपिटल दैट यू कैन प्रोवाइड फॉर सच काइंड ऑफ एक्विजिशन. प्लीज डू नॉट एक्सीड बियॉन्ड दैट. आपको उससे ज्यादा एक्सीड नहीं करना है. लेट अस सी द आंसर. करेक्ट आंसर इज सी. So RBI's draft commercial bank directions, it allows the financing up to 70%. Okay. Such exposures are capped at 10% of bank's tier 1 capital. Remember that I'm not talking about the total 1 capital, because total capital to kya hoti hai? Tier 1 plus tier 2. We are only talking about the tier 1. So that means the norm is more strict. ठीक है, इसका मतलब क्या, आपका नॉर्म जो है वो ज्यादा स्ट्रिक्ट है. दिस नॉर्म विल कम इनटू फोर्स फ्रॉम April 1, 2026 और अर्लियर इफ द बैंक वॉलंटरी अडॉप्ट्स देम इन फुल. ठीक. Easy question. Question number 31. Answers. Which of the following portal functions as a single window platform for verifying the regulatory status of financial entities and reporting the unauthorized deposit taking and activities? Now, why this particular question? See, there are a lot of financial entities that have cropped up like mushrooms. ठीक है. And it is very very important in an economy that as an investor or as a person of as a citizen, I should be able to verify that which of the following entities they are not registered. ठीक है, कौन सी एंटिटी ऐसी है जो कि रजिस्टर्ड नहीं है. सो दैट्स व्हाट अ प्लेटफॉर्म आरबीआई हैज प्रोवाइडेड यू विद. समर्थ, सचेत, सुरक्षा, निवेश मित्र, फिनसिक्योर. Question number 31. Question number 31. Okay, see, that's a guess, guys. Question number 31, which Vaishali has tried to make. But anyway, the correct answer is Sachet. It's an RBI created portal that enables the public to verify whether the entity is registered with a financial regulator or not. अगर आपको किसी एंटिटी के बारे में पता करना है, that entity is taking up the deposits from you, so you can find out that whether that particular entity is registered or not. Just like how we can find out that whether there is a company which is registered with Ministry of Corporate Affairs or not. ठीक है. So you will also see that whether an entity is regulated or not. और अगर regulated है तो क्या आप complain भी कर सकते हो? Yes, आगे जाके आप complain भी कर सकते हो. Right? So what portal is this? This is Sachet portal. What portal is this? This is Sachet portal. ठीक है. किसने create किया है भाई? RBI ने. क्यों create किया है? So that you can file a complaint against the unauthorized deposit taking activities. ठीक है. So it's a single platform, single window platform where you can verify the registration, report the fraudulent deposit schemes, file complaint against these kind of entities. Okay. The committee that recommended a comprehensive overhaul of SEBI's conflict of interest framework for its chairman, whole-time members and senior officials. It was chaired by UK Sinha, Pratyush Sinha, Ajay Tyagi, TV Somanathan or Ashok Chawla. Tell me, which particular committee is that? Okay. दोस्तों, this is conflict of interest. मुझे तो प्रत्युष सिन्हा पता है इसका आंसर. I know that Pratyush Sinha is the correct answer. So this is conflict of interest related committee that has been formulated very recently. ठीक है. And committee का नाम क्या है? Pratyush Sinha committee. So the SEBI appointed a high level committee that reviewed recommended conflict of interest framework and it was chaired by Pratyush Sinha. There is some other items which are written over here, but I don't feel this is important, so that is why we are not covering that up. Okay. Now next is question number 33. Which of the following statements correctly describes the relief measures announced by the RBI for exporters and trade related concerns? ठीक है. We'll see this question. So RBI has provided a compound interest-free moratorium on export loans from April 1st, 2025 and reduced the export credit period to 180 days. RBI relief measures apply only to scheduled banks. The moratorium period will be counted for days past due calculation under RCAP norms, but credit information companies may decide independently on credit history reporting. RBI has extended maximum export credit period from 270 days to 450 days. ठीक है? Excluding the moratorium period from days past due calculation and allowed export proceeds realization up to 15 months. Export proceeds must be realized within 9 months, but shipment against advance payments can be made in 3 years. So this is the question, and गलती से मैंने आंसर दिखा दिया है तो मैं आंसर बता ही देती हूँ. क्वेश्चन नंबर 33. Okay, you tried to tell. वो किसी ने तो किया था. I was not able to see the name, but किसी ने C option को टिक किया था. Anyway, so let's talk about this. This particular question talks about that RBI has eased up the norms for your export segment also. ठीक है, हम हमेशा आपको norms को easy करते हैं so that the following becomes easy. Okay, now यहाँ moratorium etc related there are lot of pointers which I want to explain to you, but over here the correct answer is RBI has extended the maximum export credit period from 270 days to 450 days. Now, before I should explain this to you, I am going to explain this to you conceptually also. So hear me out very, very carefully. What happens is that when you do the exports, it is a time-taking process. Why? Because you have to manufacture, then you have to ship, okay? And after that, you receive money. And this whole process is a time-taking process. ठीक है? So for that, you need funding. आपको क्या चाहिए होता है? Funding चाहिए होता है. So RBI has said that because we understand it's such a long process, we are increasing the time from 270 days to 450 days. You will be receiving, आपको credit मिलेगा इतने दिन के लिए, right? Why it is vital? Because export credit usually is at a very negligible interest rates and most of the times it is free also. ठीक है? Why? Because they our country wants the forex. हमें forex चाहिए because our imports are high. ठीक है? तो यहाँ पे maximum credit period आपको कितना दिया है? Usually it is rate is very very less. 2 to 3% is something that they charge, as far as I know. Okay, now over here, that is the first thing. Maximum credit period, pre and post shipment, 270 to 450 days. Exclusion of moratorium period from days past due calculation. See, what happens is that whenever जब भी आप NPA calculation करते हैं तो what you do? Whenever you do the NPA calculation, you see that from which day the default has started and for how long this loan remains due. ठीक है? So this is called as days past due. That's how you are going to calculate the interest. That suppose I was supposed to pay on 1st of September, but I did not pay till 25th November. So that particular 2.5 months would be counted, days past due. So out of that, RBI is saying that this moratorium or deferment period we will not include. Moratorium क्या होता है? Suppose I have given you moratorium or what you can say, I have given you the ease for not paying the interest or amount for let's say 2 months. ठीक है? मैंने आपको आसान किया है कि आप 2 महीने तक मत दो. So that amount should not be included in days past due calculation. So इससे क्या होगा? NPAs नहीं आएंगे export loans पे. ठीक है? NPAs ज़्यादा नहीं आएंगे. Then direction to CICs to ensure borrower's credit history is not adversely impacted because of this. If an exporter has received the deferment, okay, तो उसका impact CIs इस पे credit history पे नहीं आना चाहिए. And FEMA relaxations में we are allowing you the ease that you can get your proceeds back in India within 15 months. एंड फॉर शिपमेंट अगेंस्ट एडवांस पेमेंट फ्रॉम 1 year to 3 years, की मतलब ये टाइम आपको दे दिया गया है टू ब्रिंग द मनी बैक इन इंडिया. ओके, earlier it was 9 months, now it is 15 months. Is that clear to everyone? Clear है? Yes or no? If you have got any doubt, you can ask. Now, next question. RBI and which entity have been engaging with European Central Bank to connect UPI with the target instant payment settlement, the instant payment system of the Euro system? ठीक है, किसके साथ कनेक्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं हम भाई? यूरोपियन सेंट्रल बैंक टू कनेक्ट यूपीआई विद द टारगेट इंस्टेंट पेमेंट सिस्टम, दैट इज टिप्स. तो हम यूपीआई को टिप्स के साथ कनेक्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. एंड इफ यू नो अबाउट एनपीसीआई, you will be able to answer this question. Question number 34. कौन सा करेक्ट आंसर होगा? Yes, C, that is NPCI International Payments Limited, NIPL. This is the entity which internationalizes the UPI usage. ठीक है, this is the entity which internationalizes the UPI usage. And yes, correct, Tech and Games, Satyarth, yes, that is the answer as per me. So Reserve Bank of India and NPCI International Payments, see ये NPCI की ना वो है wholly owned subsidiary है, if I am not wrong, right? It is engaging with the European Central Bank so that we can link the India's UPI with the TIPS system of Europe. Now next is SEBI has proposed certain changes for determining the eligibility of बेसिक सर्विसेज डीमैट अकाउंट. ये तो मैं आज सुबह ही एक्सप्लेन कर रही थी इन द फाइनेंशियल सीए क्लास, राइट? सो विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग सिक्योरिटीज विल बी एक्सक्लूडेड? illiquid, zero coupon bonds and delisted securities, suspended securities, promoter held securities. The correct answer will be, वैसे तो मैंने आंसर दिखाई दिया था तो पूछना तो बेकार है, बट फिर भी पूछ लेते हैं. बताइए, व्हाट वुड बी द आंसर? Basic services demat account. See, what happens is that if as an investor you have securities worth 10 lakh rupees or lesser than this, then you will be eligible for this BSDA account. ये BSDA account क्या होता है? The fees that would be charged from you for this particular account will be very minimal. ठीक है, ऐसे समझो कि अभी आप छोटे इन्वेस्टर हो, that is why SEBI is saying to the depositories that please charge a very minimal amount from these investors. इनसे आप बहुत ही कम पैसा चार्ज कीजिए. ठीक है, that's what SEBI is saying. But how to determine this limit of 10 lakh? कैसे determine करें ये 10 लाख की लिमिट? कौन सी सिक्योरिटीज इसमें इंक्लूड करें और कौन सी ना इंक्लूड करें? सो सपोज आई एम एन इन्वेस्टर, ओके, एंड आई हैव इन्वेस्टेड इन zero coupon, zero principal bonds. This is the kind of bond where I am giving what you can say funding to not for profit organizations. किसको दे रही हूँ? Not for profit organizations को. So that means this is a kind of charity I am doing. I am not taking principal, I am not taking interest. So such kind of securities should not be included while calculating this limit. ठीक है? Number one. Number two, those securities which are now delisted, they are no longer on the stock exchange. वो stock exchange पे हैं ही नहीं. So why to include them while determining the limit of 10 lakh? ठीक है, जो चीज stock exchange पे नहीं है, क्या करूंगी मैं उसको include करके? So SEBI is saying that please do not include these two kind of securities while calculating the limit of 10 lakh. And then as a depository participant, you have to see whether the investor is eligible or not. ठीक है, क्या इन्वेस्टर एलिजिबल है या नहीं, और ये आपको खुद करना है. ऐसा नहीं that investor should request for this. ठीक है, इन्वेस्टर रिक्वेस्ट नहीं करेगा, आप आइए और आप खुद ही देखिए. ठीक है, this is your responsibility, this is not the responsibility of investor. So I hope you have understood this. If you have got any doubt, please let me know. So yes, this is the explanation which I have already told you. What is BSDA? It's a special kind of demat account to reduce the maintenance cost for small retail investor. हमारे पास में इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए पैसा नहीं है, आप मेंटेनेंस के पैसे ले लोगे तो बताओ कहाँ से देंगे, right? We'll not be able to provide you that. So such account holders don't have to pay any annual maintenance charges for the values of holding up to 50,000. ठीक है, 50,000 तक के लिए आपको कोई चार्जेस जो है नहीं देने होंगे. So these are the kinds of BSDA accounts, right? Now moving forward. Okay, one more thing. So illiquid instruments will continue to be included for determining the limit. What is illiquid? That means because of certain restrictions, you cannot sell them. For example, promoter holdings. ठीक है, promoter holdings पे भी आप नहीं बेच सकते हैं because restrictions are there. So that is why we are calling it as illiquid securities. But how to value those illiquid securities? So based on the last closing price for those securities, you can value them up. इस तरीके से आप उनकी value निकाल सकते हैं. Now next question we have, SEBI has revised the materiality threshold for related party transactions under the LODR regulations, ठीक है, listing obligations. For a listed entity having an annual consolidated turnover exceeding 40,000 crore, when will an related party transaction be considered as material? See, please tell me the answer for this. Options are, if it exceeds 10% of turnover, if it exceeds 3,000 crore plus 5% of turnover exceeding 20,000 crore, if it exceeds 3,000 crore plus 2.5% of turnover exceeding 40,000 crore or 5,000 crore, whichever is lower, if it exceeds 1% of the turnover or 10 crore, whichever is higher. Tell me. Okay. Question number 36. यार ये रिलेटेड पार्टी ट्रांजैक्शन का ना काफी बड़ा सा आपका जो है सर्कुलर आया था, एंड आई बिलीव आई हैव ऑलरेडी एक्सप्लेन दिस इन सर्कुलर्स क्लासेस. एनीवे, so the correct answer for this question is option number C, that is given by Akanksha. ठीक है, now hear me out on this particular manner, in this particular matter. So related party transactions क्या होते हैं? Suppose me and my brother, we are entering into a transaction. Everybody knows that this is not going to be at arm length. Arm length का मतलब जिस प्राइस पे मैं अपना प्रोडक्ट बाकी लोगों को बेचूंगी, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू सेल दिस टू माई ब्रदर एट दैट पर्टिकुलर प्राइस पॉइंट. वाई? Because we are related. So in case of entities also there are related parties. Related parties जैसे कि आपका मान लीजिए डायरेक्टर से रिलेशन आ गया है. डायरेक्टर is in one company I am the director and in another company I have got the substantial shareholding. So अब ये दो entities कैसी हो जाएंगी? Related party हो जाएंगी, right? And because of this, you see, there is no problem in doing the related party transactions. ठीक है, कोई problem नहीं है, but the disclosure is very very important. ठीक है, disclosure बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. Now the SEBI has mandated the thresholds. SEBI ने कहा है that up to this level, okay, easy regulations would be there. If it goes beyond this level, then these are your reporting requirements. Okay, so this is based on what? Your annual turnover. हमेशा याद रखेंगे किस पे based है ये? turnover पे. तुम्हारी कितनी sales हो रही है उसके basis पे we will find out that whether this transaction is material or it is not material. Now let us see this. It is a very very important question in my opinion. ठीक है, बहुत बहुत ज़रूरी question है. Let's have a look. So correct answer is option C, as I have already told you. Now ये तो थोड़ा सा ज्ञान है, काम की बात है यहाँ पे. So for entities with a, सबसे पहले नीचे से start करते हैं. Just wait for a second. First see this particular thing. Yes, correct. RPT distorts the competition and gives the relative advantage over the others, and that should not be done. ठीक है, तो ये नहीं करना चाहिए. चंदा कोचर वाले केस में, चंदा कोचर and the ICICI bank case, that is what has happened, right? So if the total value of related party transaction in a financial year, guys, does not exceed 1% of turnover or 10 crore, then a simplified set of disclosures would be submitted for approval. ठीक है, इसका मतलब अगर आपका related party transaction in one financial year does not exceed 1% of your turnover or 10 crore, whichever is lower, then in that particular case आप simply बस एक simple set of what you can say disclosures दे दो, that is fine, right? This is bare minimum. अब ये bare minimum वाला बात कर लिया. Now let's talk about that what are the other limits. So if you have turnover up to 20,000 crore, ठीक है, so what we will consider as a material transaction, important transaction to be reported. A transaction will be considered material if it exceeds 10% of your turnover. ठीक है, if you have the turnover between this limit, then we will consider a transaction as a material transaction if that transaction exceeds this limit, 2000 crore plus 5% of turnover exceeding 20,000 crore. जितना भी आपका टर्नओवर 20,000 करोड़ से ऊपर है उसका 5% प्लस 2,000 करोड़. ये 2,000 करोड़ कहाँ से आया? यहाँ से. ठीक है, for entities with a turnover exceeding 40,000, आपका turnover 40,000 से भी ज़्यादा है. So in that case, what transaction will be considered as material? 3,000 crore plus 2.5% of turnover exceeding 40,000 crore or 5,000 crore, whichever is lower. ठीक है. So in a way, you see, when you will see this particular statement, you will understand that SEBI has fixed an absolute threshold of 5,000 crore if your turnover exceeds 40,000 crore. अगर आपका turnover 40,000 करोड़ से ज़्यादा है and there is a related party transaction more than 5,000 crore rupees, then it is material. ठीक है, and the disclosures are going to be implemented on you. ठीक है, is that fine? It's a very important question and I hope you will remember the limits. What we are talking about over here, यहाँ पे reporting के बारे में बात की जा रही है that if 1% of your turnover or 10 crores, if the transaction is lesser than that, then easy reporting would be done. Now, depending on your turnover, we will define whether the transaction is material or not. ठीक है, इसके बेसिस पे हम डिसाइड करेंगे कि क्या आपका ट्रांजैक्शन मटीरियल है या फिर नहीं है. ओके, चलो. Now, SEBI has issued revised norms for debenture trustees regarding the activities outside its regulatory purview. Which of the following statement is correct under the new framework? देखो, debenture trustees कौन होते हैं guys? So, any company which issues debentures, जो भी company debenture issue करती है, they have to appoint debenture trustees also. The reason being, debenture trustees acts as eyes and ears of debenture holders. Because debenture holders are not there in the day-to-day board meetings and shareholders meeting, तो उनका भी तो जानना जरूरी है कि कंपनी में क्या हो रहा है. Reason being, they have provided loan. उन्होंने क्या दिया है? लोन दिया है आपको and they have got all the rights to know that what is happening in the entity. ये बात आ गई आपको समझ में? So over here, SEBI has regulated them in a better manner. SEBI ने कहा है कि देखो, तुम्हें और काम करना है, जाओ करो, लेकिन open a different entity for that, a separate entity. Okay, because as a debenture trustee, everyone assumes that we are regulating you, SEBI is regulating them, right? But that is not the case. अगर आप कुछ और काम कर रहे हैं, then the regulator becomes different, and that is why we are calling you out that if you want to do another kind of financial activity, please do this with a separate business entity. That's what SEBI is saying. ठीक है? Let's see the option. Debenture trustees are prohibited from undertaking any non-SEBI regulated activity. Non-SEBI regulated fee-based may be undertaken only through separately managed business units on an arm length basis. ठीक है? This is the correct answer as I have explained to you. ठीक है? Oh, thank you so much and very happy new year to you as well, Siddharth. ठीक है? Question ये देख लेते हैं. New year would be good if your